Welcome everyone back to Pommy and Oz. Hope we're all doing really well. If you are new around here, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe. We are churning them out at the moment. I can't thank you enough. And it's been great to meet new fans of different AFL clubs apart from Carlton, which has been good. And that's what we're doing today. We're on to the champions, Geelong, which should be an exciting 22. A side that's added a lot of depth. So it's quite a tough one. If you want to become a member of the channel, link is in the description there. We do giveaways every month. We're just giving a $100 gift card away. This week we've got something quite exciting, so let me know if I can get that arranged. I should be able to tell you probably the start of next week. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. So good day to everyone returning. So let's have a look at Geelong. So Geelong, the backline is fairly strong, isn't it? I've gone Jed Bewes, Sam De Koning and Big Henry there. And I like their backline. I think it was very resourceful last year. Very prudent. It's good aerially. It's good on the deck. It's good ball use wise. It matches up fairly well with just about all 18 AFL clubs. And it's one of them ones that you really look out for when you play. You know you're in for a pickle. And Bewes and Henry probably don't get the kudos they deserve, but they're a very, very good, formidable duo, really good at mopping up the loose ball. They also have the ability there to stop players getting a decent lead to the ball, which is an unforgotten talent at times. And Sam really went from strength to strength last year, didn't he? He looked spectacular at times and has really grown into that key position, which is a very tough position to play at elite level AFL football. So definitely a real strong back three. I don't think many people will disagree with that back three. I could be wrong. But shout out to my boys at the Hoops. Good bunch of guys. So we've had them on the channel. Then the halfback flank. I've got a bit creative here, right? And I was trying to think of how you build this up. I do think Mitch Duncan will slot in at that halfback flank spot. I think they've maybe moved past him as a permanent midfielder. But I do think should he be fit, it adds that little bit of use down there. We've gone Kolodjasny in the other key position. Probably one of their areas where at the moment there's a few wait and sees in their key positions. And then a guy that I rave about on this show, one of my favourite players outside of my own football club, a terrific footballer in Tom Stewart. He's incredibly strong, one of the best overheads in the comp. Incredibly strong with his ability to intercept and turn back into attack, which we saw last year. And he's a big part of that AFL flag, really. His ability, and he's a real key pillar on Geelong's recruitment. A lot of people miss Tom Stewart, gone undrafted, came in through the State League. They were hot on him. They got him very early. An incredible footballer, and one of the few players I'd say in the league as well. When you look, I'd say there's probably about 15 players that could play for every AFL club. I think everyone is looking for a Tom Stewart. I think he has redefined that role and really turned it into himself. And last year I thought he was another level with his ability to find the ball so much as well and become really damaging. Centre line then, we've gone Holmes and Smith. Really like this wing combination. I think that they are probably, in my opinion, becoming one of the premier wing combos, and they really did excel this time last year. They really went from strength to strength, and Smith was one of them acquisitions that many people raised their eyes about. Is he too old? And we had that Dad's Army banter and too old to win the flag. Smith was one of them reasons. He was incredible, and it shows in today's game why natural width is so important, because one thing Geelong do well, because they play in a narrow ground, when they play in opposition's ground, they spread incredibly well, and it's one of them things that I think people underrate about Geelong's game is their ability to play a wide ground and spread quickly from trouble and get the ball free-flowing and moving quickly is understated, and Smith is a big part of that. And Max Holmes, I really like him. He's a real hungry competitor. He's really developed in the last year or so. And we've got Blitzabs as the centreman. This guy could play anywhere, though. You might see him pop up in the ruck, pop up down back. He'll certainly rotate with Kolodjasny, and Kolodjasny will go to the pine and play down the back if they need that interceptability. He's another player that I think, and I loved his All-Australian. I love that nod. I thought it was very much deserved. Not many players are very good in more than one position. And that's what Blitzabs is incredibly good at. his ability just to be, and for Scott to go, right, this is a problem area, slot him there, and he makes a change-up, is incredibly important. And I really enjoy his game. He's a real unique specimen and someone that I have a lot of admiration for, and I really do enjoy watching him play. And he's one of them players that, because of his size and attributes, he's like the Aladdin's lamp for other teams. The amount of times I see in other forums and conversations, Essendon Cox, do you know what I mean? Carlton TDK. But the dimensions of these players, maybe that they could turn him in to that type of player, and you're like, but it's so rare for a player to have them attributes. He's an incredibly gifted footballer, and one of which we are probably lucky to have in the AFL, but he's one of them guys that does amuse me, like I say, the Cox simile, the TDK simile. I think he makes it look so easy, and it's so rare to have a player of that ability and that skill set be able to compete in so many different lines in an AFL thing. So, incredible footballer, and it really helps Geelong out. And I do think that this impact sub kind of helps Geelong, because I think that they've mastered that with him, because he is kind of that impact sub. He takes 4 roles in an AFL, in a 22. They effectively now have an extra one. So I do think that's a really interesting space. But Blitzab's one of the best players in the AFL. Then we go across the half-forward line. Kieran Mears for me, and Brad Close, 2 players that have incredibly improved and really increased their output. It's probably not hard when you've got Jeremy Cameron and Tom Hawkins as your combination in the forward line to be a smaller type player. But I think Mears is one of them players that really adds something. He's got that X factor. He stands out. He works hard both ways. Jeremy Cameron, probably the benchmark really for key forwards in the last 3 years as a combine. And Brad Close is someone that has incredibly impressed me with his development. He has really become a solid footballer and a guy that I look at. And when people talk about age with Geelong and stuff, I think they really underappreciate the development of the younger players who have been there a few years and how they've developed into really important squad players. I think the AFL media gets too blindsided by A-star, All-star, All-star, All-star. But generally, when you look at squads that have won the flag, it's probably the bottom 10 players that have won them that flag. The superstars say the superstars, and Brad Close and their ability to get players in that 18 to 25 category to be incredibly solid footballers. And what I mean by that is solid footballers in the terms of their ability to just play a role, which is so important. I think he's understated, and he's going to be 25 this year. He's really started to solidify that role, and it's probably that year now where I think he goes to be more of a squad player and a key important cog. But watch Brad closely. He's incredibly good at what he does. And Jeremy Cameron and Hawkins, probably outside of Curnow and Mackay, the 2 most fearsome duo in the comp. We're at the start of Mackay and Curnow's journey, probably at the end of Hawkins and Cameron, but it's been great to watch while it's there, and we've still probably got another year or so with that as well. And Hawkins, he is really the benchmark for players like Curnow and how they move and how they operate. Real tricky customer, playing at that full forward, and how he creates so much separation from his defender is incredible. You've got Gary Rowan there, and he's probably one of the guys that I've got a question mark on. Could be Ollie Henry, could be anyone really. I think he's got to really get some consistency, because I think that Geelong will prefer to play a younger player there. And Tyson Stengel, probably one of the stories of last year. Mental that Adelaide bought into the furore. Mental how the AFL treated him. Big smile on my face when Stengel came back into the system. An even bigger smile because I was wanting him at my club when he won the All-Australian. An absolute terrific footballer, and he was deadly in every sense of the word last year. Played with a smile on his face and lots of fun. And I am a huge fan of Tyson Stengel, and I'm looking forward to seeing if he can back it up again, because I think he can, even though people were saying he may not. The followers, we've gone Rhys Stanley, Cam Guthrie, and Dangerfield. And I think this is very underrated as well. People don't talk about Cam Guthrie enough, but you look at him, you can't really find many bad games from Cam Guthrie. And I think a lot of players like Cam Guthrie suffer from having that name next to them, that they probably go understated. You see it in the draft, particularly with players like McKenzie with Will Ashcroft. You see it in the AFL as well when they play. Cripps and Walsh, and then Hewitt and Kennedy. They don't probably quite get the love they need. And I think he's really solid. Reece Stanley gets a lot of heat for being a ruckman, but Geelong play well. With and without Reece Stanley, but with him, he's pretty good as well. Do you know what I mean? And you can definitely see a difference, I think, when Reece is in the team. And I think it's really understated that I think people get blindsided where they're wanting 40, 50 hit-outs and, 30 possessions because Grundy and Gawn do that. In reality, a ruckman's just got to do what he does, and that's he's got good positioning. He allows an extra body in there. He kind of acts as that extra midfielder as well when the ball hits the deck, which makes it hard. He stifles the opposition. I really like Stanley. His ability up and down the ground is very impressive as well. Guthrie just goes about what he does. And Danger, I think he'll play more forward time, but obviously they will pinch him in the midfield. He's a terrific footballer. He's a very, very good footballer. And he's a guy that probably... I give him a bit of hate on this show because he's so good, and I live by that British philosophy that you only hate on the players that you're scared of. But he's a very good player, and someone there that gives them great penetration, great leg speed, and he hasn't really missed a trick. Injuries maybe have caught up with him a little bit, but the class is there, and I think he'll be very happy as well that Geelong's strategy this year has brought a lot of younger bodies in, which I think is really interesting. Probably more so than they have done before. And I think that's going to be really interesting in their development because I still think they're going to be very good. I think a lot of people are almost accrediting Geelong with second-year blues. I don't see it. I think that they'll be very solid. And that is the start in 18. Hopefully you agree with it. You may not. But the interchange bench, let's have a look at it. We've got Zach Toohey, Tanner Bruhn, Jack Bowes and Atkins. And I think that probably is a very strong bench. You probably can chop and change. There's probably some players on there that are probably unlucky not to be there. But for me, that's how I see it at this stage. I think Zach Toohey offers them that rotation role. Duncan to have midfield minutes. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. They have played him a little bit higher up the ground as well. Spurts on the wing last year. Tanner Bruhn, for me, is one of the best signings. I think at GWS, he showed some real mongrel, some real toughness about him. Elements of class, and he would be someone that probably will be looking at like Mia's place, at Rowan's place, and saying, you know what, I can take this guy and I can make that role better. And he's definitely someone that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on because I think he'll excel at Geelong. Jack Bowes, most bizarre deal in AFL, that only one winner, and that's Geelong. But people forget that Jack Bowes is a very good footballer as well across the half-back. Small pinch hit minutes in the midfield. Very talented footballer. And is he even if you didn't have pick 7, what they gave up there isn't mental for Jack Bowes. It probably, you'd still question that, but the fact they got 7, Jai Clark and him, terrific acquisition. And Big Atkins, I love this guy. He's so intense, he's so hard at it. He's an honest footballer. I think all in all, it makes a really happy 22. So that is my Geelong 22. We'll take a look at the guys unlucky now. There is a caveat, Jai Clark. I haven't left him in here just because I think he is one to watch and I think he will play and I think he's a terrific footballer and he'll definitely look at Max Holmes' spot as gettable. Certainly look at Isaac Smith and putting himself in the limelight to usurp him towards the back half and cement his AFL career. Phenomenal footballer. But I wanted to talk about some players that probably don't get the love. I think he's had a lot of love. Ollie Henry, he's definitely going to be someone that I'm looking at this year. I think there is a position there for him. I think he's a terrific footballer and I'm really excited about his development. And he's going to be someone that I will be checking should he not play round 1 because I reckon he'll be borderline what happens in the VFL because I think he's an incredible footballer and I think he's at the right club to really... and they've got a deal there. O'Connor, someone that I think he suffered last year from confidence and injuries. I think there's still a place for him and I will be watching him with great enthusiasm because I really like what he does. I think he's got real good talent and I think he just was behind the 8 ball last year. I think with a full pre-season and everything all being well, I reckon he could be one that I'm really intrigued. Ratakalia playing down the back. There was rumours of it last year. I like that because I think there is something about him, isn't there? And I really like Ratacalere, and he's going to be definitely someone that I'm excited. And I think he will do it. I think he's got all the facets, strong in the air, very athletic, very exciting times. And then Neil, we saw a bit of him last year, very brief glimpse. However, that being said, long term, I think he's a long-term option. And he's someone that I think has to rise, especially with Hawkins isn't going to go around forever and stuff. I think that's going to be really important. I think, he may get that opportunity, particularly rotating with Stanley as well. I think it could be an intriguing one, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he's about. But that is my Geelong 22 and ones to watch. Let me know in the comments what you thought of it. Been a pleasure doing it. I'm looking forward to doing some more for you. Stay safe. Enjoy your hump day. Pop out.